Hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you are lucky enough to be doing it to. I'm Bushcon Blitz, and I am back with a little bit of a different tank today. I'm often accused of being an elitist bugger because I don't really roll out much below tier 7. If you see a tier 6 or a tier 5 tank on here, it's generally a rarity. Well, that's all going to change. I actually started doing a new thing today called Let's Do a Line Together, because it's going to break down some of the earlier tier tanks that people really are interested in looking at, and that are going to be playing, who just come to the game and who are freshening things up. And I started doing that with one of the German lines, particularly the line that ends in the Leopard 1. And it kicks off with the Panzer 2 and then goes to the Panzer 3A. And I got to the Panzer 3A and I enjoyed myself so much driving this thing that I thought I better just go and do a video on this one, all on its little lonesome. And it's a really good tank. And I ran it with both guns. I ran it with the very traditional 5cm 38 L42, which is the one you saw me with just then, and then switch things up to the Seal Clubber's Delight, this little number here, the 2cm Flak 38. 20mm guns you'd think would be absolutely hopeless, but this thing has 10 rounds in each magazine. Each shell there represents 2 rounds, and it fires them out at a tremendous rate. Now, on this tank itself, I'll let you know exactly what equipment I'm running. I'm running a Vents, a set of optics, and a gun lane drive, mainly because I couldn't find anything with that third slot that was any better than a gun lane drive. At this lower tier, you can't run a vertical stabilizer, and that's really what you'd love to do. But be all and end all is exactly where it's at. The most important thing that you've got to be running with this as well is you've got to run your provisions and your fuel and all that kind of stuff, because you can't get a gun rammer on an auto-loading tank. And they're not exactly the most accurate things, as you can see here. They're all about the spam. You just throw as much at the wall as is humanly possible and try and stick it. And it struggles pen-wise, especially if you run into tier 4 tanks, as in the fabled Matilda that you can see there. The tier 4 tanks will really give you a hiding if you sit there in front of them and you don't work the angles. And you can work the angles and you can work the flanks, because, look, I'm really late to the party on this tank. A lot of people have been using this as a Seal Clubber for a long, long time, and it was probably stronger in the past. But it's a light tank, and it's very, very much a light tank in performance. It's got a wonderful... Let's talk about the FAM. Fire, Armour, Mobility. Firepower, Armour, Mobility. The firepower is very, very small in terms of bang for your buck. A lot of the German tanks at this tier and tier 4 will be running 75mm and have 160 average alphas. And you don't get that. What you get, though, is a tank that is very, very quick. And you get a light tank, and it can do all the light tank things that you want to do, like spot and get out and go very fast and run around people. But it actually has a tremendous amount of damage potential. It fires 111.42 rounds a minute when you're running your vents, your double rations, all those kind of things. And considering that your average shell in this, even though it was only do 12 damage, if you could throw enough of them at the wall and enough of them stick, they will burn. And that's exactly what you're doing with the Panzer 3A. It's a very small profile tank, like most of these tanks at this tier 3, and it has no real armor to speak of. And armor at this tier is not a big thing. That's why tanks like the Matilda at tier 4 and such are really pronounced, because you notice when you run into them, because you're not really struggling to pen anything else, and then you'll run into a Tetrak or a Matilda or you know, an S35 like that, or the front of a Hetzer, and you'll get in real strife. So that's when you've got to use your light tank skills, which is drive around them, use your auto aim, and just pound and pound and pound those clips. And they've got a very, very fast reload time on them too. You can throw out a full clip and then reload it immediately. So you've got a reload speed of 4.72, which is under 5 seconds, which is pretty bloody decent. And that's grand. And it's a lot of fun doing this, firing the pop gun constantly and moving very, very quickly, in excess of 60k, and getting in and out. And I found that far more conducive to fun than running the other gun, the 5cm KWK 38 L42, because although that is a bigger caliber gun, it's only got an average alpha of 70. Like, 70 hit points is neither here nor there, and you've still got to expose yourself an awful lot to get your shots off. So if you're going to be doing it, you may as well run the gun that really gives this tank character, and that's the effervescent Flak 38. What about armor? Well, there's no real armor. Don't worry about armor. Do your best. Your best armor is light tank camo, and there's an awful lot of light tanks and medium tanks at this tier. But light tank camo is brilliant because what that allows you to do is drive around at top speed while still not dropping your camouflage. And the best armor you can have is literally not being seen so you don't get hit. Mobility wise, you're going to struggle to find a tank that gives you more bang for your buck. 68 km/h speed limit on the Panzer IIIA, 60 degrees of traverse and 38 degrees of turret traverse. So while your turret traverse isn't amazing, 60 degrees of traverse on your tracks is really quite electric, and it turns it into an absolute red hot raver. 10 degrees of gun depression too, so if you like getting out there and utilizing gun depression, then this tank's got that going as well. It's very fragile, so you're going to see a lot of times in these videos I'm setting shots up, putting hard cover between me and possible incoming targets, and then actually hitting them from behind that hard cover and isolating tanks. It's a good tank to drive if you're a newer player. It will pump out firepower, but if you just sit still in this tank, you're going to be a huge target. You've got to keep relocating and finding shots, and you can see it's not the most accurate of weapons. 0.416 is your dispersion rating, which is really, 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 really bad. And if you're running it with vents and rations and all those kind of things, you've still got that 0.416 dispersion rating. So don't go around expecting to be a marksman. It's a brawler. It's a run around, get them in the sides, dump a massive clip in them, brawl them to bits and move on with your life. And I think it would have been a tank that would have been even stronger back in the day as a seal clubber, and I'm told reliably that it was. I just never really got into it. I'm a lot more of an elitist. I get up in the higher tiers and I run around and I do my very best. And you can see why. There's a lot of really easy targets down here. If the gun was in any way, shape or form accurate, it would be completely unfair. As it is, it's got wonderful mobility, and you can see there's a lot of tanks here that don't have decent guns. That's a BT-7 artillery. There are so many of these things in the game at the moment. They fire, for the most part, the high explosive shells. They're very, very inaccurate, but when they hit, wow, do they hurt a little tank like you. And you can see there, straight away, you want to get rid of him ASAP, and that's exactly what we're doing here. The pop gun is in full effect. Forward, backwards, anything you can do to get dodged. So if you're grinding up that line, if you're looking for a good line to grind up, the Leopard 1 line isn't particularly noob friendly, and this tank is certainly not going to encourage you to drive forward at pace and just plant damage on the enemy while hit point trading. But it's a fun tank in the line, and a lot of the German tanks at this tier are really, really good. The Panzer 4D is a really low-key seal clubber, and the 4A and the DW2 at the tier 3 and 4, these guys, they all pop out and they pass the eye test and they pass the stat test deluxe. I've got to say, one thing to be wary of in this tank is going too fast too early. I know it's only tier 3, and if you're just starting the game, you're probably thinking, why can't I just drive forward? The gun seems good. Well, there's a lot of people like me who'll be playing at lower tiers, and they know how to play, and they will take full advantage of the fact that you don't know how to play. And if that's the case, a little bit of timidity will go a long way towards keeping you alive. Just be cautious, and only use the speed when you need it. But it can get you out of trouble just as easily as it can get you into trouble. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a really short, sharp one today. The Panzer IIIA, not the most renowned tank in the game these days, but certainly something that's been a key seal clubber for a long, long time in Blitz. There's going to be a lot more of these things coming up, a lot more low-tier tanks, particularly the 3s and the 4s. I mean, 2 is kind of neither here nor there. There'll be a few of them, but not many. Only the notables like the T18, I guess, or something along those lines. But the tier 3s and the tier 4s, it seems to be where people really come up against it in Blitz, and they either make it through or they bugger off and go play something else. And I'd like very much to be the person that gives them a hand in the making it through and saves them from a little bit of the tears and the heartache and the very steep learning curve that the game can offer. And the Panzer IIIA, if you use it properly and if you learn how to utilize light tank camo and speed and actually get that really, really fast-firing autoloader up close and personal to the nasties, well, it can be an extremely rewarding tank. Especially the fact that a lot of the people at this tier just simply don't know how to play. And you'll quite often find the odd person camping in the spawn or the guy who is completely oblivious that you're even there and you can just walk up behind and spank. And that's why they call it seal clubbing, because this tier, those BT7 artilleries, honest to God, they are absolute monsters. When they land one on you, you will know you've been hit. However, they have exceptionally slow firing times and they're very, very, very inaccurate guns. Lots more coming up, guys. There's going to be some more live streams. I'm soliciting advice from the patrons on what videos should be coming up. And if you've got any ideas, make sure you send them to me at bushkawonking@gmail.com. We're doing podcasts regularly now. Snake Eyes is still fielding questions. Askbushka@gmail.com is the email address if you want to have a chat to anyone about that. And just in general, be on the lookout for a bit of a new look over the next couple of months. I'm Bushka on Blitz. As always, look after your families and stay safe on the battlefield.